Leadership Thread with Dr. Peggy Pelonis. And now, Dr. Peggy Pelonis.
Welcome once again to another episode of the Leadership Thread. I'm really excited to have with us Dora Vardis, who's Senior Financial Executive, and she has so much to tell us today. So let's get started. Hello, Dora. How are you?
Very well.
Thank you for joining us today.
And thank you for having me.
You know, I want to start today. There's so much that I know that we can talk about, but I really want to start today with the idea that you came to this country as a student, and you were accepted at Columbia University, one of the first women to be accepted in their finance business program. What was that like back then?
Indeed, it was a difficult decision to leave Greece.
Yeah.
Usually, the Greek environment is very warm and doesn't want to let you go.
Yeah.
And there are always so very many reasons why you should not go there, why you should not take a long trip to that continent that is the United States of America, and why should you do that?
Did your family feel that way too?
Certainly my mother.
Yeah.
My father supported any decision that I felt strongly about. My mother was a housewife, homemaker. My father was a businessman. It was the rule of my mother, home. Nevertheless, in the decision to pursue a graduate degree in the United States of America, my father did veto all the anxiety and the oddity that my mother presented. Why should I go? And
so Dad was very
for
supportive.
sure, it was my drive and wish that this is what I wanted to do.
You had a vision back then. You wanted something beyond university. Did you know at the time what it was that you wanted to do?
The vision was that I wanted to be rewarded for my efforts in a meritocracy.
Yeah.
And Greece is not. For a woman, in the professional environment, and I was planning to have a career, I didn't think back then that it was the right choice for me. I didn't know whether I'm going to pursue a career in the U.S., but that I wanted to leave the Greek environment and, in a way, armor myself with tools that will allow me flexibility in pursuing a career abroad. Yes, that's what I want to do.
Are you glad you did that?
Of course. But I'm also a person that never looks back. I always look forward.
What do you do today? Tell us.
Today, after I have, in 2018, we, with my business partner, incubated a company, which today you might call it the PayPal of crypto. It's a very interesting space. It's a space that has not been adopted by my generation. Clearly, the younger generation has adopted cryptocurrencies, blockchain protocols, but I always have an inquisitive mind, and I always wanted to try something new, something different. Indeed, that effort yielded substantial results already. Our company had been valued at a very impressive valuation back in 2021. In the beginning years of building the company, I was instrumental. Today, I'm operationally not involved anymore. I am on the board, and I have already taken a lot of steps back when it comes down to my professional career. And now I elect to give what the business has given me. So now I spend most of my time supporting two major causes, as I mentioned or maybe not. It's the space of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And of course, I feel very, very, very strongly about education. It's going to be most likely available to me that I will sponsor a scholarship for a young lady from Greece at Columbia Business School and fund that scholarship. That's something that I plan for the future. Not yet. Once I have the liquidity exit from the business that we have incubated, it's not in the far future. That will be one of kind of like the things that I will pursue. Yeah.
And I want to. We'll come back to the areas that are close to your heart. But as a woman in this environment, in a business environment, and really, pushing the boundaries, what was that like?
It's there is a lot of conflict. Unfortunately, women have been and still are discriminated in any field that they participate, in any career that they pursue. And imagine more so in a span of a 35-year career of mine, how much discrimination I have encountered. It's there. It's there. You have to acknowledge it, and then you move on. It cannot be something that will stop you.
What was it about the way that you grew up, the family that you grew up in, the values you learned, what you learned in that family that helped you keep going during those challenging times?
The one value that it's not really the reason why you go through challenging times, but it's rather how you govern your life, your career, and how you go about it, is the ethical fiber of your decisions. So that filter was instilled in my family, in my upbringing. And that filter governed my path. Having said that, as a role model, I did not want to pursue the role model of my mother, with one clarification. My mother was an extremely warm person, very protective, and if I didn't have such a secure upbringing, I wouldn't be here today with such a stable way of looking towards life and having encountered in the past so much adversity. If I didn't have that stable grounding, and that was my mother's doing.
But what was it about
Having
your mother?
said that, my mother never pursued a professional career, would not have allowed me to pursue a career like the one that I have and did have if it wasn't for my father.
For your father. Do you have siblings?
I have one sister.
Younger or older?
1 year younger.
1 year younger. So you were the firstborn.
Yes.
So
But we are like Irish twins.
Yes.
13 months apart.
But you kind of paved the road.
I paved the road. That was difficult for my sister. It's very difficult to have a sister who does it right.
Oh, yes, it is. And it's always first.
And it's first, and it's all kinds of things. And then it's very difficult, very difficult. But my sister is very successful in the choices that she made also. She has 3 wonderful children, and she already has grandchildren. And by no means she was not successful in what she elected to do. She did have a job. She worked with my father, but she focused in bringing up 3 wonderful children. And I would never belittle a woman's effort to have a family and raise children. So there is no comparison there. It's just like
the choice that you made was a different path.
Correct.
And you pursued that. So what if you were to go back and look at your life and follow that thread all the way back to your childhood, would you change anything?
No. I do not look back. I do not regret anything. I look only forward.
So what about your personality, your character? What were the strengths that kept you going?
I don't know. How about if I ask you this question? What do you think?
How would your friends describe you?
My friends, let's ask them. Let's ask them. Open to whatever they will say about me. Whatever you see, this is who I am. Yeah. I have a very analytical mind. I have a very statistical mind. In every decision of mine, there is a probability of success for the outcome. So pretty much my path is a weighted probability of outcomes and branching of the probability for every outcome. I always say that I'm a very good risk manager because I take into consideration, or hopefully take into consideration, what can go wrong and allow a probability for that outcome also. That's a reason why I was not an entrepreneur in my life, but towards the end, having met the right partner. There is no way that if you're a risk manager, you're going to pursue an entrepreneur's path. An entrepreneur's path needs to say, I don't care about risk, I'll take any risk. All or nothing on the table. But if you're a risk manager, you're just going to say, okay, let's weight the probability of this all or nothing. Let's see how we're going to skew this probability. The combination of these two people is what creates value. And that's why the company that we incubated clearly, but it's going to become a Harvard Business School case. I'm not saying it's clearly. Maybe Columbia Business School case for my alma mater.
For your alma mater.
But it's a combination of two paths. It's a combination of two sets of skill set and characteristics for the managers. And we had the optimal combination.
You definitely, at a time that was not usual, were somebody who was thinking outside of the box and pursued things outside of the box.
And still do.
And I have no doubt about that. But at the time, that was indeed very risky. So yeah, maybe it was a calculated risk, but it was very risky, and you did do that. And I want to understand, where does education come into this for you?
Education is important.
Yeah.
But education is the means to something. Education is not the end goal. So I don't belong in academia. I love to teach. I love to teach finance from the mentorship point of view, like the knowledge point of view. I know finance so well, so I would teach finance, but not because I belong in the academia. Everything that we learn, for me, is the tools towards building something. So the creation of value is important to me. And education is a tool. Experience is another tool. And experience is a part of time. You don't gain experience by all of a sudden say, oh, well, in 1 year's time, I want to have the experience of 15 years.
Right.
You don't.
So you are...
Maybe AI will help us.
But you're also interested in passing this on to others.
I do.
Young people.
I do.
Who want to pursue, perhaps similar roads or don't have opportunities.
Yeah. If I'm able to help the younger people to avoid certain mistakes, or to discuss with them in their elections for their next steps for their career, then I would love to do that. I would love to help them if I could, with my example, with my choices, provide information for their choices. I would love to do that. That is part of education for what I think. This is the blend of experience and education.
And you mentioned earlier about being interested in intellectual developmental challenges. Mm-hmm. And how did that come about?
But it's not because it's in my family. We don't have anybody in my family with a disability, intellectual developmental. It has been, though, around me. It has been around me, siblings of friends, children of friends. It's part of our life, and it's not correct for us not to have our eyes open and acknowledge that we need to help if we're in a position to help.
And that's exactly what you're doing. What was it about your family dynamics growing up that instilled that quality in you to help others when you have the ability to do that?
Both my mother and my father, they're giving people without kind of like naming the way that they give to society. So it wasn't something that was labeled in my family. Oh, give there, do that. It wasn't. But it was an element of like, be nice to your neighbor, help your neighbor, help a person that is weak. Do not step over weak people. So it was something that was part of my family. As I said,
value.
The ethical fiber, the ethical filter was part of my family.
Yeah. And definitely you're putting it into practice right now. You mentioned earlier, and this was very interesting to me, you had two parents, a mother that stayed at home and was a wonderful mother. It sounds
a homemaker.
Yeah. And a dad who was, dynamic in his career and whatnot. And in some ways, you chose, the role model that you chose to follow was your dad.
Not necessarily. It was not mother.
Not mother. But what other options did you have? Was there somebody else in the family?
It wasn't a role model idea. It was what I did not want to do.
Nobody outside of the family who...
No.
Okay.
No.
That's what you did not want to do. And that's a decision that you made very early in life. That's interesting.
It was the only negative decision that I made, because usually I make positive decisions.
Why do you think it's negative?
Because it was not to do.
Yeah.
It wasn't what to do. It was what not to do.
But that's a very interesting, and I want to make a comment about that, because it's very interesting that we do take a look at our role models in the family, or I would say our parents, and we decide who we're going to be like unconsciously or not like. That's also a decision, and you made that very early.
Well, you see, I like my mother, kind of like...
it's different.
No, let me put it differently. My shopping addictions and buying so very many shoes, if you were to see my closet, you would not believe how many shoes I have. That comes from my mother. Okay. I do acknowledge the DNA influences. Okay, that doesn't come from my father.
Of course, but not in terms of career.
Right, but when it comes down to kind of like to my let's say to my spending for me as a woman, that comes from my mother.
That comes from your mom.
Okay, to my career and how I pursued my career, it was from my father. So,
would you give any advice, if you could go back now, to your younger self? What advice would you give?
No, there is no advice to my younger self.
Do it.
Whatever, I will repeat it again and again and again. I don't look back. I don't regret anything that I chose to do, and I'm very happy to go forward. If there is some changes to be made, of course. But I'm not going to look back and just say, oh, you should have done it this way. No.
And that, I think, is probably your greatest strength, that you're always looking forward to the next level and moving forward.
Yeah, that's not to say that I'm not learning lessons.
Yeah, absolutely.
In my path towards achieving things, right? But I do not regret anything.
That's amazing.
I try to every moment do my best, considering the limitations and the constraints at that very moment.
One final thought that you want to leave with us? Maybe something about the environment that you're so passionate about.
I think that we need to become more sensitive to weaknesses, especially the stronger we become, the more immortal we feel, and the more we close our eyes to inequality, because a weakness is creating an inequality that we're not willing maybe because we're afraid, maybe because, if we don't keep this kind of like very strong panoply that nothing can penetrate us, we feel that that's the image that we need to promote. So I feel that we should become better human beings if we can. There's always space for us to improve, to connect with among us more, to talk, to be human.
Develop those relationships.
Yeah. I mean, machines tend to estrange us, and I am a forward-looking person, and I love AI, and I love cryptocurrencies, and I love emerging technologies. I truthfully love that with AI, we're going to be able to create bespoke drugs and address so very many problems. Mm-hmm. And I would love that at some point we're going to be able to address mental issues and create really good drugs. Mm-hmm. But in the meantime, we're human beings. And we become lonelier and lonelier and lonelier. And I wish that we spend more time
with one another.
Yes.
And so that's your final message, that in light of AI and all the advances in technology and all things moving forward, that we really amplify our humanity and connect.
I think so.
Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And thank you for joining us once again. It's been a pleasure being with you.